Hi, I'm Alfredo Romero, class of 1991 and a member of the Pomona College Alumni Association Board, coming to you from the stage of Pomona's own Bridges Auditorium.
And I'm Terril Jones, class of 1980, also on the Alumni Association Board, coming to you from a socially appropriate distance.
Terril, what are you doing all the way out there? We don't have to be that socially separated. Get on over here. So we're here to tell you about the legend of the number 47 and how it came to be associated in a mystical way with Pomona College.
Yes, it's like we're Siskel and Ebert.
Or McNeil and Lair.
Or like on Car Talk, I'm Click.
And I'm Clack.
Or like I'm Beavis.
And I'm, you know, well, let's go back to McNeil and Lair.
Yeah, that's more in line with our theme.
Yeah. It's been a difficult time, of course. And the Claremont College has been closed for more than a year during this pandemic, with students in virtual learning over Zoom. Now for the second year in a row, we're celebrating 4-7, the annual celebration of Sagehen Impact, remotely.
So while Sagehens around the country and around the world are marking 4-7 in their own ways, we thought this would be a good chance to take a look at the meaning of Pomona and its connection to the number 47, how this legendary relationship came to be and how it has persisted over the years. 47
is a quintessential prime number, not too big, not too small. And there are obvious connections to Pomona College, such as Indian Hill, the exit to Pomona off the I-10 being exit 47. Or there are 47 pipes along the top row of Lyman Hall organ in the Thatcher Music Building.
There are less obvious connections to the college. The first year students entering Pomona in the fall of 2000 included 47, count them, 47 valedictorians. Do you know what it takes to be a high school valedictorian?
No idea.
I sure don't. Did you know also that in the dorm Harwood Court, there is a room 45 and a room 49, but not a room 47?
That's spooky. And 47 does seem to appear more commonly in the universe than other numbers. There's tons of occurrences out in the world beyond Pomona. According to the New Testament, Jesus Christ performed 47 miracles. There's 47 sentences in the Declaration of Independence, and the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn are 47 degrees apart.
The B-47 bomber made its first test flight in 1947. 47 people survived the plane crash in the TV show Lost, and in the Pixar films Monsters, Inc., the company was accident-free for 47 days.
Did you know a single cell divides itself 47 times to create a human embryo? And the typical human body has about 75 trillion cells, enough to stretch around the Earth 47 times.
And who can forget the heartburn tablet Rolaids, whose advertisement said that they absorb 47 times their own weight in excess stomach acid.
For sure. And Pomona students, alums, faculty, and staff have become attuned to 47, almost as if it has become part of our DNA. We notice it everywhere, on receipts, road signs, timestamps, weather reports, serial numbers.
On phone numbers and ID cards, addresses, social media likes. There's even a website where, and a Facebook page where people post their sightings of the number 47. Many of them are Pomona alums.
And be honest, how many of you have used 47 in your passwords?
Or in your email address. Mine has 47 in it. Sagehens are just that way. We're so obsessed with it that even our kids get involved in our discovery of 47s.
So how did it all start? How did the number 47 become so connected to Pomona College? It goes back to a handful of Sagehens who determined that 47 occurs randomly on campus and in nature more often than any other number. This tight relationship between Pomona and the number 47 has been special for a long time. Do you know how long, Terril?
47 years?
No, actually, since 1964. That's when a small group of Pomona students, in the summer before they started as first years, started talking about random numbers, and the conversation turned to the seemingly random occurrence of the number 47.
We wanted to find out the actual story behind the evolution of this relationship. So we did what any good journalist would do. We went to the primary source to hear it ourselves.
So we welcome Laurie, professor of cell and molecular biology, who's in his office at the University of Chicago, and Bruce, a retired software engineer coming to us from his home in Oakland. What's this all about? What's with number 47?
Its importance at Pomona, I think, derives from the fact that it was a discovery, as I said, a discovery process that allowed people to go out and explore campus and look around for occurrences. When they were first, the suggestion was made by, I guess, first me and then Bruce and me, to everybody who was there at the NIH summer program in physical biology, 29 people who were eager, thoughtful, and said, "What? You mean 47 occurs more frequently than you expect?" And we don't expect it to occur very often at all. So discovery followed, and many people were convinced and enjoyed the discovery.
It's kind of a curious number, and that I think that in some ways that it seems like kind of tricky, because when we started looking for 47, sometimes we'd think we'd get a 47 and no, it's not quite. But then it would fool us and say that it was, because that the first time conversation I remember was in Mud Blaisdell Hall, in the dining hall at that time. And that Laurie kind of brought up 47 and said that it might occur more often. And so, being a skeptic, when we exited the hall, that I went out into the foyer, and at that time there's a big railing going up the second floor, the balustrade, or the ballast that underneath it, and they looked like a lot of them. So I counted them, and there were 46. And so I thought that was convincing that this is a bunch of stuff. But then it turned out that we noticed that on the top and the bottom there were half ballasts, and so if you put those together, it made 47. Well, this was too much for me to take, and so we went outside, and that on the front of the hall at that time was Della Mulock Mudd and Florence Carey Blaisdell, and so I said, well, I'll count those letters, and so that I counted them up on my fingers, FLOR and so on, and there were 39, and so that's. However, turns out it said Florence Carey Blaisdell Hall and Della Mulock Mudd Hall, and that turns out that made 47.
Well, one of the most amazing things I learned was that exit 47 on the 10 freeway that leads to Pomona College didn't exist at the time that this was discovered. So that was an interesting, because it's always been there for me, obviously, being in a later year. So, there is definitely, I don't know, just a touch of conspiracy there. Perhaps the government was involved in this discovery.
I think the evidence is overwhelming.
Yes.
So you set out to see how 47 manifested itself around campus, whether it was more common than other numbers. How did you do that, and what did you find?
Well, we didn't try to compare it with other numbers. That wasn't necessary. It's just occurs. You don't expect it to be very, very common. And so it just occurs frequently.
Yeah, I think the thing that really emphasized it in the NIH program that we were in was that our professor of statistics somehow seemed to glean something of this, and then brought it to our whole class.
That of course was
Professor Bentley.
He had his own mathematical proof that he used in class that showed what?
Yeah, he showed that 1 equals the square root of 2. And from that, by squaring that, 1 equals 2. And you can propagate that proof to quite a number of situations. And Bruce and I showed that in a similar proof that 1 equals, that I guess 2 equals pi. And from that, combining that with Bentley's theorem, we were able to quickly prove that pi equals 47. And right.
And then Professor Bentley carried on the tradition in his math classes ever after.
Right, and as they say, you can't argue with proof.
This is true. Yeah, decades later, in my linear algebra class, I think Professor Millikan showed us the proof that all numbers were equal, and therefore all numbers are equal to 47.
Precisely. That's why all numbers are equal.
This is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So the intriguing speculation that we started with is that the number 47, if it is more common than you'd expect, should be on a higher proportion of license plates than you expect. And 47 being one number out of 100, you might expect it to be on 1% of the license plates. But it turns out by direct experimental analysis at the time. It occurs on 2%. It occurred at that time on 2%. And that number has only grown over the years in terms of the proportion of California license plates that have the number 47 on them.
Well, just one more question about your college years. What were some of the more esoteric or imaginative experiments or investigations that you carried out to determine?
Well, both of us were involved in scientific projects, and sometimes the pace of those projects is like watching paint dry or maybe grass grow or something like that. And
I always had to mow the lawns after my older brother went to college at my parents' house, and we had a couple of acres of St. Augustine in various places, and so that I needed to know how fast our grass was going, so I could tell what I was accomplishing. And so I got measured the number of blades in a square inch, and I knew from one time I mowed to the next how much the grass had grown, and it actually was just calculated. It had to be it was straightforward.
So it turns out that applying this technique to the grass growing on Marston Quad reveals that on Marston Quad, at the particular time of year when we were doing this, the grass grows at 47 furlongs per fortnight when you add it all end to end.
If you add all the blades end to end, then they're growing at 47 furlongs per fortnight.
47 furlongs per fortnight. That sounds irrefutable. I'm convinced.
Absolutely.
So far, it has been. Yes.
So when this all came about, right? This is 1964. You spend your time at Pomona finding or discovering 47 everywhere. Did you think it would get to be the phenomenon that it's become today, where here we are, more than 47 years later, still talking about it?
The answer to that is no. But, then the question is why? And there are several possible answers for this, but I would give you two. One is that it's a publicly secret sign of commonality or camaraderie that you can use. And generally, if I see somebody or meet somebody who graduated from Pomona, it really doesn't matter what year. This is what is astonishing to me. And I mentioned the number 47. They said, oh, you know about that? Yeah. Okay. And it's a wonderful point of connection, and it starts immediate friendly conversations. And the other thing I'd say about it is that this process of discovering, and it's why it took off, is pretty exciting. When you are attuned to something like this, and then you discover more, and it's just fun. It's exciting.
And you're a geneticist, right? So you deal with numbers and formulas and replicability and theories that can be proven. They must be proven, right?
Do you continue to be a 47 hunter? Do you continue to search and find occurrences of the number 47?
Well, I haven't put a lot of energy into it, but when something comes up, I try to notice. And something that came up on just before Mary and I had our 47th wedding anniversary, actually up in San Francisco here, even though we didn't live there then. And that I just come across learning about the 4-7 debate in Korea. And there is a book called The 4-7 Debate, an annotated translation of the most famous controversy in Korean Neo-Confucian thought by Michael Calton. And it explains about the great debate in Korea in 16th century philosophy, which includes basic issues of agency and free will. It identifies two parts of human psyche, the E, the four basic virtues, benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and wisdom, and the Chi, the seven primary emotions, joy, anger, grief, fear, love, hate, and desire. And so this controversy is which of these two primary parts of the character are we run by? Are we run by our soul or our body, basically? One school argued that it's like the chi is a horse and the e is the rider who directs where the horse goes. So the soul is the rider. But the other school pointed out that the horse is untrained, then it will take the rider wherever it wants. And so after 500 years, 47 would seem to be fuse these two together in an important integration, I think. Perhaps that we can have agency and free will if we are disciplined. So that's our free will discussions we used to have a bit. Of course, if we have no free will at all, then the discovery of 47 was inevitable since all is determined. But if we do have free will, I feel that 47 is really a creative work of art. And we should see about raising some million for the alumni fund by selling an NFT or non-fungible token for it. And that's my position.
So this goes back at least 500 years.
That's right.
Which means there are just many more instances that are just waiting to be discovered.
I think we can conclude from this, though, that while Bruce and Laurie are the beginning of the Pomona connection, that they could not possibly have invented this, because this all has been happening through millennia. Julius Caesar said Veni Vidi Vici in 47 BC. And obviously none of us were around for that. So it's more the discovery of 47 in nature. So this was not invented by Pomona College. This was only discovered.
I think that's a good point. Good point, yes. And it's just that we were, I think, a very susceptible group at that time.
Obviously being the fourth child in seven, being born in the 47th year of the 20th century, it's only natural that it would be.
Yes, it all makes sense now.
Yes.
The big question is then what will be the next big revelation that we will understand? Who will be the 47th president of the United States?
That's a really good question.
Well, thank you both, Laurie Mets and Bruce Elgin, for joining us and telling us how in the summer of 1964, you first started and established this tradition between Pomona College and the number 47 that has persisted to this day, and no doubt as long as the school will continue to exist.
On behalf of the Pomona College Alumni Association, you guys have really created something for us to share. We're very grateful. I'm sorry, not created, discovered something for us to share. And so we give all the credit to you for being attuned to that natural occurrence.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, it's great to get this story on the record so that all alumni can know the real deal.
Absolutely. And the list about 47 goes on. There's in the movies, for example, there's 47 Ronin, 47 Meters Down, and Hitman, Agent 47.
And there was that unforgettable action drama, Towering Inferno, co-starring Richard Chamberlain, Pomona class of 1956, who was the 47th person in line to get rescued.
Ah, yes, Richard Chamberlain, who I've heard he worked 47 weeks out of the year when he starred in the 60s TV series Dr. Kildare.
Right. And Towering Inferno, of course, was released to wild official acclaim in 1974. And 74 is
47 backwards. Coincidence?
I think not.
And then, of course, there's Star Trek. The number 47 appeared throughout the Star Trek episodes in the 1990s, thanks to scriptwriter Joe Menosky, Pomona class of 1979. Joe, and eventually other writers on the show, worked the number 47 into many scripts of The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager.
That leaves Dr. Crusher 48 minutes to develop an inoculant to the virus.
Which means there's still time for us to do something.
48 minutes.
47, sir. By my calculations, the next time distortion should occur between 28 to 47 minutes. I'm receiving a code 47.
Verify.
It is code 47, sir. Starfleet emergency frequency.
Code 47. Captain's eyes only.
Captain, I'm sorry to disturb you.
Yes, number one, what is it?
An incoming message. Code 47.
Even with warp power to the tractor beam, it would mean exceeding the recommended impulse engine output by at least 47%. Weren't there about 40 people killed?
47.
This is the 46.
47.
And when you're embedded in Star Trek episodes, you're truly an American icon.
47 has boldly gone where no number has gone before.
True. And we Pomona alums have incorporated the number 47 into the fabric of our lives. Like Cecil Sagehens, it's a common denominator that we all share.
It's a connection point, something that links people together. You get two Pomona alums together, and 47 comes up, and the two of them just know.
It's true. Hey, Terril, don't you have a birthday coming up?
Yes. Don't you have a birthday coming up?
Is it your 47th?
Well, let's say it's the anniversary of my 47th birthday.
Yeah, me too. So I think we should have a toast with this bottle of Monkey 47 gin.
Ooh. All right.
So here's to us and our 47th anniversaries.
Chirp.
Chirp.
We hope that despite the circumstances of this year, that you'll join us in marking 4/7, our annual day of celebrating Sagehen impact in your own way. This can be as simple as reposting on social media achievements of your fellow Pomona alums.
Or maybe you'll volunteer at a local charity.
Maybe you'll help an elderly neighbor with a chore or sign up to mentor an up-and-coming Sagehen.
And if you donate to Pomona, you can increase participation by donating as little as $4.70, but you can contribute $47, $247, or $470.
This will help Sagehen students continue to receive the best education and opportunities that Pomona can provide.
So on behalf of the Alumni Association, we give our very best wishes to all current and future Pomona alumni to celebrate our collective achievements, which bring us closer together even as we continue to deal with the difficulties of this stubborn pandemic.
Oh, the pandemic. I need some Rolaids.
No Rolaids.